Do everything to keep a salesman from selling? Okay, let's see how that works out for your boss. Posted by Anonymous B315. In college, I worked for a computer parts store in their build your own section. Let's call this place Macro Point. I was a good seller and made a ton of money, something like $2,400 a check. I was very happy and feeling myself. I even bought a shirt that said DJ Breadwinner and would wear it under my nice clothes all the time. The job was easy if you follow 2 simple rules. 1. Never sell them something they don't need, and 2. The customer only has the options you give them. The latter seems a bit disingenuous, but if you follow 1, you'll never go wrong with 2. My 2 biggest abilities were that A. I helped everyone and was very polite and energetic, so I got a lot of repeat customers who would wait and deal only with me, and B. I could sell warranties like nobody's business. The warranties were easy to sell since we had an accidental damage plan on most items and one that replaced components in a build if you paid us to build it. I would simply say something like, "You want to buy the accidental damage plan? It may be expensive, but it lasts 3 years. Put that date in your phone, on your calendar, a week before it's up, throw this son up against the wall, and then come get the latest model for free." The plan says they might ask a few questions, but the truth is they didn't. With accidental damage, bring in a broke item, get the same, or if that's not available, usually not, get the latest price equivalent model. Most people took that bet, and I was successful. Things were great until we got a new manager for our department. We'll call him Incompetito. He was, as his name implies, incompetent. He had come over from Circuit Metropolis and had been a store manager or something. Their business had just folded. He brought all kinds of new and stupid ideas to the department. The worst was switching how we did the cleaning and stocking. Before, we cleaned at night and stocked periodically in the early morning when it was slow when the truck came. Incompetito wanted us to clean in the morning, so we were on the floor for the early morning customers and then stock at night, because anything that wasn't fully stocked in our department through the day went up when we merchandised at night and cleaned. I think he was just trying to stop us from getting overtime or something, which was stupid because we made like $5 an hour plus commission. Our hourly wage was crap. The biggest problem here is that the things off the truck are in the system, so when a customer wants something, the system says we have it and it's not on the shelf. We have to waste time not being on the floor, going to look for things in the pallets, and that hurts our sales. This is a completely stupid idea that failed spectacularly, and I earned the ire of Incompetito by going to the store manager after our objections were ignored and explaining it. I may have earned his undying ire when he told the store manager that was the way they did it back at Circuit Metropolis, and I remarked that was probably why they went out of business. In my defense, screw Incompetito, he was costing me like $500 a check. Eventually, this got fixed, but a new issue started, and this one was really annoying. Now, we were not allowed to sell in other departments unless they were connected to or upsells on our builds. TV, Apple, games, and general section in the middle of the store. I and others had mastered upselling whole TVs instead of monitors and gaming peripherals and all that. We got a higher percentage of peripherals than core sales, so making a TV a peripheral was big money. Incompetito, who was trying to buddy up to the hot chick who ran the department, had forbid us to upsell TVs or hand that off as a separate thing for the TV people. This did not go over well in our department. As the lead salesman in my department, I was particularly PO'd, but he threatened write-ups for anyone who disobeyed, and the store manager was tired of us going around Incompetito, so he just started saying it's his department. He eventually forbade us from upselling anywhere else in the store. I'm like, cool, bet. Cue the malicious compliance. You see, even if it's from other departments, if the sale starts in our department, the numbers are attributed to our department. This here affects Incompetito's bonus, but also the only reason more TVs were being sold in the first place was that we were convincing gamers to get big TVs and use them as monitors instead of monitors. So when we stopped doing that, units stopped going out with the same frequency and the numbers for our department dropped sharply. It was actually rough to get all the salespeople to just stick to our department and not go around Incompetito, but it only took about 2 months for anyone to start noticing the problem. They called a meeting of the departments and we talked about the TV and the BOIO underperforming. When they asked why, I feigned ignorance and just said we were following what Incompetito said. We let the store manager slowly piece together why things were happening. Incompetito got chewed out, and TV lady, let's call her Legs for Days, was also chewed out. We didn't know why at first, but apparently she'd done this to the manager before the manager that hired me. The one before Incompetito was a woman, but her predecessor was a man. Apparently, Legs for Days had a way of flirting and getting special treatment for her department and taking advantage of idiots like Incompetito. I'd like to say that this was the end and Incompetito eased up and got out of the way, but nah, he was petty and a jerk. He conspired with Snake, someone of his own culture, to get rid of me. I found this out because Snake was popular with the girls but also talked too much. He would allow Snake to upsell in our area and had one of the girls often remove my sticker and put Snake's on it. He started scheduling me at weird times and started selling the store manager on the idea that I was detrimental to the morale of the department. A lot of them were lazy and relied on the pool. And when you don't help someone and then they buy something, the money goes into the pool and it's distributed amongst the entire department. If it doesn't look like it's a big bill, then some folks would just let go to the pool. I did not. I helped everyone and turned small items into big purchases. Admittedly, that hurt everyone else's pockets, but we were told to help everyone and to absolutely not be lazy and let things go to the pool. So the weird way it ended up being explained to me is that if I sold 10 of an item, I got paid, let's say, $100 because of a multiplier or whatever. But if I sold 5 and then someone else sold 5, no one would get the multiplier, and then thus they would just pay each $40 or something instead of paying the $100 for the same amount of merch being sold. It was all convoluted and sounded like a BS excuse, but Incompacito ended up convincing them that they couldn't afford me right then. Normally they fire people on the spot because we've got a high risk of theft, but they let me work those last 2 weeks. I asked what he expected me to do, and they told me, I expect you to sell. So, sell I did. Cue malicious compliance too. I was going to show them what they were losing. I wanted them to feel my absence. I was determined to try and break the sales record my last few days and totally came close. I was averaging something like $7,800 in sales, way up from my $3,000 a day, which still had me around the best of the best. See, the record was somewhere around $14,000 in a day, and I had hit $11,000 and $13,000, but sadly could not hit the record. But my numbers were insane during that time. My last check was stupid high. But alas, Incompacito did manage to get me out of there, though store manager said he'd hire me back if things changed. Instead, Incompacito waited a month and moved Snake into my place in the department. Needless to say, their numbers were not the same. I didn't get my closure on this until about 4 months later when I found Incompacito and store manager had been fired. They opened a Bengal Direct across the way and MacroPoint had been losing clients and money. Worse, apparently my department hadn't really recovered from my loss. Things came to a head at a quarterly meeting when the regional manager came to present the top sales awards, and apparently I'd won it, even missing 2 months or so of sales. No one had told him I'd been fired, so he looked like an idiot trying to present the reward. There was a banner and everything. I also found out that Snake got fired for 2 separate offenses: stealing, which they were investigating, and then doing stuff with one of the cashiers in the back, which led to his immediate termination. It had come out that Incompacito had caught Snake before doing something inappropriate and just gave him a vague write-up. That, the debacle with me, and the low sales got Incompacito fired. I received a call to see if I wanted to come back, but I already taken on extra classes by then. That is truly epic if you know that you were getting screwed and then you came back and took the W. Very nice job. You won't settle until I send a file type your computer will open? Okay, posted by Malicious in there. Client comes in with a seemingly simple auto collision. Client was hit, other driver got out and said something like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay? I'm so sorry, I dropped my phone and I reached to get it." Client had a dash cam which recorded the whole thing, including the admission of guilt. Easy client, right? Turns out the admission was really important because the type of accident didn't make a determination of fault easy. Imagine a rear-end collision at a red light as an easy determination, but a collision at a 4-way stop sign as a hard determination. When the cops showed up, the police report found both drivers at fault and did not mention any statements from the other driver. But we have our admission and my client's damages were above the other guy's policy limit, so I send a demand to the insurance company for policy limits. Note that the insurance company has an obligation to negotiate in good faith, which becomes important later. Lawyer from insurance reaches out and says, basically, look, my client says they were driving safely and the police report says shared fault. The initial offer is like 10 grand. I replied, yeah, but my client had a dash cam and it recorded your client admitting fault. It's important to understand that this was before dash cams were common. It wasn't my first case with the dash cam, but it might have been my 3rd or 4th. No mention of the dash cam was made on the police report. Insurance attorney says, I imagine while twirling a dumb mustache, "Interesting, can you send me a copy of the video?" I said sure and send it over. He replies, I can't open this, so I send him a link to VLC Media Player. It's a weird extension and Windows Media Player won't play it, but VLC will. Just follow the installer instructions and it should play, no problem. He says, I'm not installing something to watch your alleged dashcam video. Send me a file I can play if you want me to consider it. This makes me unhappy, but I tried again. It will take less than a few minutes to install. You can watch the video and listen to your client admit fault. He says, we're done here until you send something that I can play. Cue malicious compliance music, country grammar. Start super cool montage of me going through other client files. Stop montage as I open a file and my face is bathed in a golden light radiating from an old Memorex CD. So I found a different dashcam video which did not contain any sound, but it could be played with a Windows Media. So I found a different dashcam video which did not contain any sound, but it could be played through Windows Media Player, and it was close enough to my current client's fax that if you weren't paying attention, it could pass. Other attorney just asked for a file he could play, right? I sent it over. He says, "Wow, no sound. Guess you're done, buddy." So I sued. During discovery, I sent a CD over which included the original video and a copy of VLC. He must have ignored it because he didn't say anything about it. During a pretrial motion hearing, I played the video for the judge. The judge might have heard the other lawyer's jaw hit his desk. The insurance attorney says, "Your Honor, this is not the video he sent to me." In my mind's eye, I see the malicious compliance Death Star preparing to fire. "Judge, I thought he might say that. Here's a copy of our emails where I described the video, provided the video, and sent instructions on how to play it. Here is a copy of the CD I sent with discovery, which also has a video and a copy of VLC. Finally, here is a copy of the unrelated video which I sent to fulfill his request of something he could play." Other attorney asked for a recess. Because he refused the initial demand of policy limits I told him, I would argue that he did not negotiate in good faith. We settled for well above the policy limits. Client was very happy. P.S. Don't go to law school. #NotWorth. Hey, that was his fault. He dropped the ball and you just threw him another one and he could not catch that one either, and you won. Very nice job. Put the secret phrase of the video in the comments. The salesman rocks. Be sure to check out some of my other stories here and subscribe to the channel if you like these videos.